Life would mean very little without a mouth to express yourself or a mobile body to take you places. To be inanimate, to lack motion, to essentially be a mind trapped within the holding cell that is the self, like the trunk of a tree, the leaves, the wind and rain, all surpassing it. What would be the purpose of thoughts, feelings, or emotions? Why exist if there's nothing to live or die for? The soul of mind ponders that. Would you ever find joy as a figure that sits motionless forever? I know I did. My joy and happiness came in the form of some outside force that manipulated the way I feel. Unlike the wind surpassing the tree, something stopped and cared for me. My only love was a young girl who showed me what it truly meant to be valued. She truly did mean very much to me. I had practically been with her all her life. Nothing could stand between us. I stood there, as wise and as immobile as a tree. She used to look down on me with wide, sparkling bright eyes. Each time I felt like I was being blessed by an angel. Why did it matter if I couldn't actually show it? She must have thought that I was the cutest thing alive. I know that's not true. I'm simply a lifeless, hairy rag. Inside me is nothing but cotton wrapped in a furry exterior. I wish I could know how soft I felt. She would hold me all through the night, clinging to my warmth. I was created to be calm and gentle. That has always been my purpose. I'm like a pillow in that way. I am designed to bring comfort. I'm also sure she found my compact face and plastic glossy eyes adorable. I can't see myself unless someone holds me against the mirror. I can't even move. I'm just an ordinary brown teddy bear. As much as she adored me, it was nothing compared to how I felt about her. She was the only person that ever showed me love. This made her like an angel to me. Although she sought asylum and escape in me, it was I who needed her. Without her meant I was useless, nothing but a piled up mess of fur and cotton. It wasn't until this girl brought meaning inside of me that I had a reason to exist. I couldn't say how much I loved her because I couldn't speak. My mouth had been sewn shut, along with the rest of my body. I doubt she ever really knew that I could think. Never could I show any sign of being sentient. The world believes I'm lifeless, just an inanimate object. And you know what? I'm starting to agree. The only purpose I serve is the one given to me. I wasn't born with any value, I was given value. I cannot make a difference, cannot even move or talk or anything. I'm just a soul within a mobile body. However, she gave me all the meaning I needed to make it through life. She first found me at the age of 3. She had her mother purchase me at the thrift store. I don't know what it is about me, but she loved me from the instant she laid eyes on me. Why me? Nothing made me special in comparison to the other artificial stuffed companions. If anything, I was just an ordinary brown teddy bear. I faded into the background. However, she stuck out like the sun in the sky. She had long brown hair, red cheeks, and the most innocent-looking smile. Her eyes were as bright and blue as the ocean during the heart of the day. She was very small when she first picked me out, almost as small as me. She had to lift me up with both hands. As soon as she brought me home, she gave me life in a sense. She talked to me, told me how much she loved me, even with her limited vocabulary. She played with me. It was all just wonderful. I knew I couldn't possibly respond or move at all to play with her, but I didn't need to. She simply made my actions and words up. Whether or not I could do anything in reality meant nothing to me, as long as I was alive within her heart. The early years were the best time. I spent my days confined to her room. Her family never had much, but imagination doesn't run on money. No more than 10 cents could buy me. I was always carefree. Teddy bears don't have jobs, teddy bears don't have responsibilities. My life consists of resting still forever. These were the glory days of spring when I was my happiest, when I was truly carefree. I was carefree because she was carefree. Humans aren't like teddy bears. I had all the time in the world to play with her. People just don't work that way. Humans have lives and responsibilities. They have to deal with the everyday hassles of caring for themselves. However, teddy bears don't have the gift of autonomy, something you humans take for granted. Being limited to the times where she was free, I had to cherish the fleeting moments of her childhood. And that's what I did. During her early years, she was as cute as a button. It was a silly and fun time. We would go on quests to explore exotic lands, have tea parties, and all in one room. At the time, as if there were no walls. Her imagination knew no boundaries. It was just a laugh to listen to all the things she had come up with. I could feel her energy. She ran at speeds that were probably lightning fast in her mind. She'd grip my arm with her tiny hands and take me along for the ride, dragging me across the house. In my mind, I just play along. Sometimes I forget if I'm supposed to be a spaceship or a race car. Her energy would calm as the sun would dive below the horizon. It was so hard to even think she would get tired. As soon as the night fell, she began to sleep like an angel. Her father would make her go to bed about the same time every night. I never really knew him, but he seemed like a good man. Sometimes it would be easy, other times it would be more difficult. He never made too much of a fuss about it. Those times meant more to me than anything else in the world. We were free and innocent those days. However, times faded away like the sand in the wind, leaving nothing but memories remaining. Life does indeed go on, a little faster than I would have hoped. That's all part of life. I'll never know what growing up feels like, but from what I witnessed, it means hard work. This was when the purpose of my comfort and vitality truly mattered. It wasn't just a game anymore. She actually started to need me. I sent her to kindergarten. It didn't mean much to me at the time. I'll admit that I'd have to wait for her to get back. It would happen and we'd have fun the way we used to, for a while that is. Like any child would and should, she started to mature as she progressed through elementary school. She was sharp and creative and very articulate for her age. However, not lacking the warmth and love she gave me when she was littler. We still had a connection with each other, although a fleeting one. It only meant less playing pretend and more talking about problems, less tea parties and more study time. I listened to these problems. I just wish I could offer some sort of advice on them. The biggest issue she had to deal with was bullying. Some of the other boys and girls would tease her and make fun of her, but she would go to me and tell me all about it. I just wish I could come alive for a second, so I could beat the stuffing out of them. I never knew exactly how she acted around her peers. All I knew is that she was smart, kind, and totally undeserving of such treatment. The words they used were awful, and as time progressed it seemed to have gotten worse. She was being teased for being socially awkward and always wanting to read. Personally, I don't think her taking extra time to make good grades is a bad thing at all. At first, people started calling her nerd, egghead, or loser. That brought spite into my heart in of itself. Then the language these kids started using just got more and more deplorable. The words she was repeating to me were getting more and more vile. I felt sick to live in a world where kids this young even knew these words, let alone use them. It started to really break my heart hearing these words repeated out of her mouth. Then again, what could I do about it other than just be warm and cute and just a teddy bear? I knew she had friends too. She spent long whiles telling me about them. Despite the fact that some kids had been complete jerks to her, she was still somewhat happy. She had her friends, and they seemed like nice people from her description. There was only one topic that was difficult for me, one that was even more difficult than bullies, and that was boys. She probably should have talked to a pink teddy bear with a satin ribbon, because I don't know very much about this topic. However, I admit it was cute hearing her talk about her innocent pre-adolescent crushes. She was starting to reach the higher level of elementary school and was making her way through middle school. Eventually she stopped sleeping alongside me, She still picked up with me and cuddled with me once in a while, and she was talking about some boy at school, but we no longer would spend nights together. Our resting place was on the top of a cold, hard shelf. You'd think it would tear me apart, but not really. This was a normal part of growing up. I couldn't blame her for not being the same as when she was a toddler. Instead, I looked to my new spot as a badge of honor. It felt like I had retired from those days of keeping her warm at night and playing dress-up with her. I was an old bear. Most kids would have gotten rid of me by now, but she still kept me. This new spot was elevated. It felt like I was a living symbol of all the work I had done. It gave me a sense of pride. I had been a good Teddy. I felt myself beginning to wither away, though. I was proud of myself. From the pedestal that I sat up top, I'd look down at her and see what a beautiful young girl she had been becoming. This was how I was during the middle school years. She was cute, fun, and smart. Sometimes she'd even smile at me. It was like life had given me a token of gratitude for just being there for her. I never really did anything, though. I just stood there. After all, I'm only a stuffed animal. I began to feel like she's keeping me out of nostalgia, although deep down I know there was still love between us both. It was hard for me to go on. I missed having her talk to me or rant about her problem with me. Deep down, it was I who longed for the nostalgia. I deeply coveted the days of old. I'd wear any frilly hat or embarrassing get-up from her mom's closet just to play with her again, even for a short time, just like when she was little. Unfortunately, those days are gone, and I had to come to terms with the fact that she just didn't need me anymore. These memories we made are the only sunshine that was left to shine on me. Yet there were no storms or wind or rain either. As discarded as I felt, the pride of showing all that love to her was enough to warm my heart in many ways. As my fading memories were beginning to turn to gray, something great happened. I was standing in my usual spot atop the shelf. It was always a reminder of the phrase, "It's lonely at the top." However, my lonesomeness was about to cease very soon. She rushed into the room and hopped on the bed, giggling uncontrollably. If I were capable of facial expressions, there would be a big smile on my face. She picked me up, still laughing, and kissed my nose. Then she rested me on the bed and started talking about this boy. Back in her elementary school years, I would dread these conversations, but now I'm glad she's speaking to me at all. But this time it's different. She's not mindlessly describing a boy she had a crush on. This was serious. I was proud and concerned to find out that she had a boyfriend. I know I'm not her father. I'm a stuffed animal. What right do I have to be worried? I was, though. I'd never met this guy. He could be dangerous. Then again, what kind of stuffed animal would I be to think like that? The answer is a concerned one. I eventually thought that all my worries were just garbage. When I heard her describe him, it sounded like she was describing perfection. Hearing the magic in her voice was all I needed, to know that he'd be right for her. She was ecstatic the whole time, jumping up and down. She reminded me of the same giggling schoolgirl she was back in elementary. It was all quite heartwarming. It didn't end there either. She started to talk to me a little bit more, even though she's in high school. It was like reliving my favorite moments in life. Only she could make idle banter sound so sweet. I didn't hear her say much about bullies either, so there was no reason for me to be unhappy. The worst news I would get is her getting an F for being grounded. And all that meant is she'd spend more time with me. For a while I was glad to see life was treating her well. I knew she was growing up, but it didn't mean she'd have to ignore me. We were still having fun. That was all I ever existed for anyway, so she could have fun. However, as the games begin, so shall they end. This was when she needed me more than ever. I know high school is a hard time in anyone's life. However, I kept hearing increasingly saddening stories about her life. Apparently, over the period of a few weeks, she started to lose everything that made her happy. It was so shocking for me to hear about all of her so-called friends. My favorite quality about her was her will and her strength. No means no with her. She would never do what she knows was wrong to fit in. However, she didn't think she'd have to. She and I were under the conviction that her friends were nice and loyal, but it was all a lie. I had to start listening to more of her sorrow than ever before. The profane name-calling, the bullying, it was all coming back and worse. But what hurt the most was the fact that these names were coming from the people she trusted wholeheartedly. All year it was like this. I could almost feel myself sinking down to the level of depression she was in. She really needed somebody. I tried to help her, but I couldn't. It was all too much for me to do. Teddy bears may be good for cheering up a little girl, but not comforting what is essentially a young woman. I began to resent the high spot on my shelf that she chose to place me in. I deserved the floor. I never did anything for her. Nothing mattered to me anymore. It was like those days she had picked me out. It was in a cold, dirty thrift store all those years ago. I didn't know how I could cope with all that going on in life. There were days where she'd literally come home from school in tears. I was gladly there for her to hold as she cried. The sound of her voice breaking and the sight of her walking in with tears along her face was a powerful one. It only made me feel more useless. I wasn't holding her. She was holding me, not that I didn't need it. The last days I spent with her were utter torture of the soul. I wished all my life that things could just go back to the way things were, when we lay against one another and just sleep in peaceful comfort. But wishful thinking has no aim to it. It comes and goes like specks of dust blowing in a gentle breeze. It can't be tied down or controlled. However, it's guaranteed that it'll never become true. The whole room felt cold as soon as she walked in. She was sobbing loudly and uncontrollably. She'd cried many tears, but something about today suggested true heartbreak. It lasted all night. Because of how heavily she was sobbing, I had a very difficult time understanding her speech. It was painful to listen anyway. The boy that meant so much for her was now gone. That motherfucker had violated her trust and was pursuing a relationship with another girl. This made me almost as sad as she was. Why would he betray her like that? He was all she had, and now he's gone. And there was invisible storm clouds shrouding the room. I was honestly frightened by her display of brokenheartedness. As bad as it's gotten in the past, this was the worst it had gotten. She had left her room for a bit. It was getting late, about the same time her father used to make her go to bed when she was little. When she came back, more stable. There was still unbearable sadness in her every motion, but this time she felt a little less animated. The extreme displays of sadness, crying, screaming, falling over had subsided, and now she had reached a depressed state. I doubt she could even find a tear inside of her if she wanted to cry. She looked tired and walked rather clumsily. Didn't really know what was going on. All I knew is that she had held me really close for this moment. She turned out the lights and rested her head on my body. I finally got my wish. She held me tightly as she began to drift off to sleep. She was much bigger than she was when she was little, but the feeling remained the same. She turned out the lights and rested her head against my body. I finally got my wish. She held me tightly as she began to drift off to sleep. She was much bigger than when she was little, but the feeling remained the same. She still slept like an angel, and never before had she been so quiet and peaceful. She closed her eyes and rested her head on the pillow. Her arms were as tight as they had ever been as she pulled me closer to her. The only sound that she made was just the sound of her breathing, which was slowly getting quieter. This had never happened until now. It would never happen again. As it turned out, the weight of the world around her was more than enough to bring her down and take her away from me. All I knew is that there was still a little bit of warmth that I could still hold on to. I could still feel the warmth of that fire burning within me. I could still feel her heartbeat resonating slowly. As surely as I kept holding on, the warmth began to fade. All I knew is that as quickly as she had fell asleep, she was no longer in this world. I was stricken with extreme pain like nothing I'd ever felt before. The feeling of grief was overflowing. I wanted to cry, but I could not move my face. It's torture to be unable to physically express your sorrow. The emotions pile up and there's nothing you can do about it. Then something impossible happened. A fresh tear began to roll down my cheek. I could feel it. It was actually real. It was not just in my mind. My eyes are made of shiny plastic. It was not really possible, but it happened. All I could wish was just that she was only alive to see it happen. It was beyond anything I could possibly imagine. It was something that could just never happen, but it happened. At that moment, I knew how useless I really was, and that there was really no way I ever could have saved her. I tried as hard as I could, even without talking, moving, or breathing. All I tried everything I could to lift her up, and in the end I failed. I was simply left with infinite grief of letting the one I cared for the most slip away from me. My heart was warmed and saddened to look back and think that the last thing she ever did before she died was hold me. I could never get over it, and nor could I ever forgive the people who drove her to this. I'm now back where I started, alone. My new home is the same as my old home, with a thrift store. As I speak, I sit here on the cobweb-filled shelves, waiting to bring magic into someone else's life, or just at least try. Then a young girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, and red cheeks approaches me. She stares at me, calling for her mother. The glow in her eyes and the magic in her smile is hauntingly familiar.